There's so much history in these mountains, so many stories, so many legends, and I'm just trying to pass down the stories, especially some of these history stories in these mountains. Now, I started in the mines back when I was 18 years old. I got to know the old men that was going out. They was about close to retirement age, and I got to be friends with them. There was a few of them, and they worked hard all their life in these old mines. Now, this story is an old ghost story that I learned from these old men. They told me this happened up here, up above Harlan, in the old coal fields, way back in the late 1800s. And this is supposed to be a true story, so I'm going to share it. Now, the story goes that there was an old coal mine up here in the late 1800s, around 1890s, just before the turn of the 1900s. And they had about 100 men. It was not a big operation. It was a medium operation, hand loading. Places looked like this. And they had a lot of immigrants too starting out. Some of them couldn't even speak English, I was told. That was back in the old days. And back in them days, they worked a lot of children. Some as early as 9 years old. They had nothing else to do. They had no family. They were orphaned or something, and they had to make a living. So some of them were 9 or 10 years old. And they mostly worked in stuff like this. They take care of the ponies and stuff around the mines and help out with the horses and the mules and stuff like that till their backs got stronger. A lot of them just opened power doors for the men hauling this coal in and out of the mines. And it was a long, boring job for a lot of these kids, you know it was, but they tried their best. They tried their best to work, but that's the way it was back in these old coal fields back in the old days. It was just hard physical labor. A lot of them were just little families in the community, these mining camps around these mines, brothers, usually family members, worked together all the time in these mines. A lot of them just come in from the new country, had to have jobs. Well, the story goes that they was working these mines. In a certain part of the mines, they had a mine explosion. And it killed, I reckon, about 12 men. Not everybody in the mines, about 12, they said. But this part of the mines, they got most of them, mine explosions like this, they don't stand a chance. If the blast and concussion don't get you, the smoke and the fire will. They smother to death if they didn't get blowed up. They look like this. And they come from the little old mining communities. Mining camps look like this, spread all up and down these Appalachias. This is a hard way of life. These people didn't have no other thing. This is how they made a living. Now, they recovered about, out of 12 men, they said, they recovered probably all the way up to about 7 of them. But 4 or 5, they couldn't even find them. They didn't even know who they was. They couldn't find nothing of them. I guess they got blowed up in the explosion. So they sealed this old mines up, and it stayed sealed up for up till about just right at World War II, they said. And they needed coal real bad. So they opened this mine back up. Opened it back up, unsealed it. And it was hard work getting this old mine set back up after it's been set idle for at least 40 years. So they worked at it, off and on, trying to modernize it too a little bit as they went. And they began to haul this coal out of here. It was all hand-loaded coal back then. But they was trying to modernize it with modern machinery, trying to get electricity in it and everything's what I was told. Is at that cross state. Here's an old bottom cutting machine where they cut out from under the bottom and shoot the coal out. It don't take as much powder to shoot it out. Old pictures like this. Nothing like the modern mining. Still hard physical labor. And they hand loaded as they shot it. And everything seemed to be doing just fine. No problem. Just getting its mines on its feet, getting it going. But they still had the old workings here that they had to go into to get back to mining places. A lot of them had a lot of eerie feeling. Some of them even reported seeing lights back in the old entries. Just like orbs or whatever, coming out of the walls of the mines, go up into the ceiling. And they began to working these old machines and having to set up and drag this stuff around. And people would just notice stuff like this, just look out of the corner of their eye and there'd be somebody standing there looking at them. Well, and then they'd just disappear. That gave them an eerie feeling. But they'd pay it no mind at first. I mean, are they seeing things? So they continued to work day by day. Here they are scaling at their shot a place down to make it safe to go in there and load it. They go in there and hand load it. Hard work. No wonder they opened this mine to back up. Looked like it had a good old big seam in it. All the good seams were worked way back then. Well, somebody said that they got to notice somebody calling their name, trying to holler their name. And they looked around, all of a sudden somebody hollered. And there was a figure of a young boy with no eyes in his head. It looked like he'd been blown to pieces. Like he'd just been hit by shrapnel, rock. And he just faded away. Well, that scared that one to death. He'd had enough. He just quit and walked out of the mines and left. He was not coming back. Well, that started happening to a lot of men. They started seeing stuff and hearing stuff, and from other people. And the ones that didn't see nothing, their friends was seeing something or something happened. It was getting hard to keep employees. And they was quitting by the droves, and then they'd hire a new bunch. This just kept going on. And they said one of them was sitting outside one day, and right at the mouth, eating lunch, just watching the mine, just what's going on, and happened to look over at the portal, watching them pull coal out, and there was a man appeared just outside the portal, just like he was just standing there, but he was kind of transparent, he said. He sat there and studied it, and walked up and started walking up towards it. And when he did, it just disappeared. Never could figure that out. Well, this old mine, they said, it worked out about in the early 50s. It finally just, the coal seamers working in that mountain they worked it out. So they sealed it off. But still, to this day, they never did know what that was. Of course, they think it was the dead miners that got blowed up that they couldn't find in that mine. So this is just another story to pass down from the old coal fields of the Appalachians. So I hope you enjoyed this story. God bless every one of you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.